presentation. It says I'm going to be speaking about Kony 2012. That's an error. I have a different senior project, so I'll be talking about that today. So when I first began Civitas, and when my little sister, who's just beginning Civitas, asked me, what is the most daunting thing about it? What is the hardest part? What made you think the most? And when I've gone to elementary and middle schools to present about Civitas, the hardest part that I always tell them was not, the challenging curriculum, the philosophy of political thought, or the extra hours of homework we have, but it was the 100 hours of community service, which we were required to do. And I thought 100 hours, in addition to the 1 to 2 hours of extra homework I'll be having, and all of the time that I'll be spending in school, how enough time to accomplish this. And the best advice that I was given from a Civitas senior and that I gave to incoming Civitas students was to find something that you really love, that you're really passionate about, that it feels like you're not just going there to log hours, that it's something that you are really interested in and something that you feel that you are passionate about and that you want to be a part of. And so when I sat down to start thinking about how I'm going to accomplish these, sorry, I'm getting over a cold, 100 hours, I thought, well, I knew what community service was. I had done it before with my family. I, maybe 1 to 2 hours on it. And so I sat down, and one of the things that I had been doing since middle school and that I spent the majority of my 100 hours on was an organization called the Green Teens. Sorry if you can through my nasally voice. So the Green Team Teens, what we would do is we get together a group of kids from my school. We were all 8th graders at the time. And the elementary school I went to, or middle school I went to, was called Sierra Oaks. And Sierra Oaks is right adjacent to a park. And so the park was a part of our school. It was something very local, and it was a huge part of what we did at the school. We went outside and played in the park, and I went there on the weekends with my family to the park. And so it was really important to me that this park was clean and it was useful. And so my friends and I would get together on the weekends, and we would go to the park and make sure that all the trash was picked up and that it looked nice. And so and then we started there locally, and we began to expand. We began to explore other ways of, doing things green and doing things ecological, because we were the Green Team Teens. And so we started with recycling, and we started with composting, and I started composting at home, and we really became environmentally aware, because the Go Green movement, it's not a new movement, but it's something that's really taken a hold in society today. It's something that's really important that we really all should be concerned with. And so, and so then I began logging these hours and doing this community service, and it became really important to me. And so then as I began Civitas and I began doing the courses, I began to see how this theme of caring about the environment started to come into my, my curriculum. We took a class on international relations, and one of the things we did in this course was we did a mock United Nations, and we all sat in a circle. Thank you. And we introduced different resolutions, and the resolution that was most important to me and that I found most interesting was regarding the Kyoto Protocol, which is a call for all of the nations to reduce their greenhouse emissions and become, introduce less pollution into our atmosphere. And it was really important to me, and I was shocked to learn that some of the largest nations out there hadn't signed this. And so I thought, obviously as one student and as one high school student, I thought, how can we, there's no way to convince an international country to do this, and so we thought we had to start, locally, and that's how legislation and things like that are passed, is through the leaders of our state and of our country seeing that we care about the green movement, that we care about our environment. And so, through Civitas, it's just been a really valuable program. It started out as a class, and it started out as international relations and philosophy and learning about things like that, and it became so much more for me. When you're really dedicated to something, you don't just show up for the hour and leave. You think about it after school, you spend time on it before school, and that's what it became. We have these amazing field trips. I went to Perspectives, which is a convention they do every year through the Metro Chamber, which was, it was fantastic, and and so I thought, and so by doing this program and being a part of it, I had these amazing opportunities that aren't presented to 80% of the school, and so I really began to grow and learn as a person, things that, certain adults don't even have opportunities to do. So as I continued on through my career in Civitas, I started an internship junior year, as the Civitas students do. I interned for Senator Darrell Steinberg, and as I began interning there, I did some research into his policy and bills that he's authored and things that he's introduced. And one of the bills that he introduced was the Delta Water Plan, which just took effect this year in January, which what it does is it provides a more reliable water supply for California, and it protects, restores, and enhances the Delta ecosystem, which, I mean, obviously that's, it's about an hour south of Sacramento, the Delta. My dad owns a boat on the Delta. I've spent so many summers down there, and so, that is also something that's really important to me. It was really great to learn that the person that I was interning for authored such a bill that's so important to me. And so, as I began to approach my senior year, and I started to think of what's, a project that I can do that can incorporate what I've learned through my community service, what I've learned through the curriculum, and what I've learned through my internship. So I couldn't think of a better senior project. So what we'll be doing in February, March, and April, as the weather gets a little warmer, I and a group of students and parents and volunteers and teachers and anyone who wants to come, I will be teaming up with the American River Parkway, going down in each of those 3 months, February, March, and April, and hosting a cleanup. Not just the American River, but also the levee systems, with Susan, who's down there, and she's in charge of it. And so, this is something that's really passionate to me, and I'd like to get as many people as I can involved. And right now, because of the weather, obviously we're not really able to do it. But next semester, that's going to be my focus, and I'm absolutely committed to that. As you can see, through this theme of ecology and caring about our environment has been so prevalent throughout my career in Civitas and caring about the community, because the theme of my project is, and all of the projects, is giving back to the community. What can we do since this community has done so much for us? And so then I was so ecstatic to learn from Mrs. Reed that the theme this year for the Pancake Breakfast, the largest fundraiser that we focus on freshman year, is the American River Parkway and levee systems. And so, absolutely this is something that I felt I could really help drive behind. So if you look at the handout I gave you, I wrote a letter to Congresswoman Matsui's office asking her or her chief of staff to come to the Pancake Breakfast, our biggest fundraiser, and to come and speak and advocate, because having someone who is Congresswoman Matsui, she's in charge of the 5th district, which encompasses Fair Oaks and Carmichael, and the American River runs right central through that district. So obviously, she would be the appropriate person to contact about this, and something that I'm sure she's very concerned with. And there's been a lot of legislation passed in Sacramento alone regarding our parkways and our levee and our river systems. And so obviously this is something that's very critical to us. It's our local ecosystem. I mean, our school is built right up against it. A large percentage of the homes in Sacramento are built right up against it. So I couldn't think of something more relevant and more important to me to focus a senior project on, and to interweave all of the things that I've learned in Civitas and throughout my 4 years here. So after I graduated high school, I'm applying to Portland State, Colorado State, and Western Oregon University, all located up north and very ecologically, there's forests and rivers, and so, not in some giant city where they're demolishing everything, because that's something I care about, and so I'd like to be surrounded by an environment that I'm concerned about. So I want to continue this theme of being interested in our community and being interested in, locally what's going on. And so, last year for the Pancake Breakfast, we raised $12,000, which was, fantastic effort on Mrs. Reed's part, myself and my students' part. And so this year, with getting Congressman Matsui to come and speak, as well as focusing on something that's so important to us, right outside our window. So I really hope that we can be just as successful this year and, be able to continue this tradition of focusing on our local environment. So thank you. Any questions? Yes.
So Matsui said yes.
No, I haven't heard. I just sent the letter out a couple days ago, so I haven't heard back from her yet, but we're hoping to get less. Thank you.
It's a convincing letter.
Thank you.
Anybody else have a question for Kate?
Any questions?
Is that a county, parks or city, federal, state?
Right. Well, we have the Parks and Recreation District here in Sacramento, which has some say on the cleanup, but you know, there's so many parks in Sacramento. It's such a large city that a lot of times these things do get neglected, so that's why we have the Parkway and, you know, organizations like mine that go in on our own and, you know, do get in charge of it. But I'm sure if there was some massive problem there, then they would step in, so, yeah.
This organization that we're working with, the American Parkway people they not only clean up the systems, you know, like the parks and the walkways and the bike trails and all that, but they also plant trees, so they get rid of the invasive species and then put in what would be native plants. And we had kids all last year on the summertime out there with hoses and buckets trying to keep the new seedlings alive. So you know, a couple of the schools have sort of adopted what they call a grove, and then you know, kids go out there and sort of share the joy in the 101 heat to keep the trees alive.
Yeah. Hopefully by doing it in that early springtime when it won't be too cold or too hot, so that's the reason for the later date in it, so. Yeah.
What methods are you using to organize the
Right.
cleanups? How are you getting people excited or energized about
Oh, yeah.
your activities?
Well, I mean, obviously, right now, we haven't started talking about it because it's December and, you know, we didn't want to get too early on, but obviously through, you know, Facebook and social media, reaching kids of my age, you know, I can't tell you how many Civitas things and other things I get invited to just through Facebook. But as well as, you know, the Rio has a news flash, so we put it on the news flash to get sent out to all the parents and everyone in the district. We could talk to student government about getting it put on the morning announcements that they do. I mean, I could personally make flyers and hand them out. I mean, just anything I can do to get out the word, you know, just, so yeah, that's probably how I plan to do it.
And the organization's pretty good. They often will give out t-shirts to people who are out there, and they also, on certain events, which I don't know which ones they are, they sometimes serve pie.
So that should be a big motivator. So, yes?
What do you want to do career-wise?
Well, that's a really good question. I've gone back and forth because Civitas has given me such an introduction to political science and public speaking, and I mean, that's what I love doing that. I really love policy, and I, you know, interned for a senator, and so I'm torn between that, and also I really like writing, and I'm kind of an artistic person, and if I did go into business and politics, it would be with an emphasis on ecology and the local, you know, environment. But my dad's a writer. He writes for several automobile publications, and so I really like writing and creative writing, but I don't know how much of a career I can make in that, so I'm torn, but probably the first one. So.
Frank, we love you.
Thank you.